Okay, so since we're also doing it over here on the camera, I'm going to go ahead and put the things that I have over on the board up here as well. So we came up with last block. We came up with some sentence start or not sentence starters, transition words for the conclusion. So we came up with finally, in conclusion, sorry. Oh no. Oh no. Oh no. No, it's fine. Here they are. Who else's did I steal? Olivia's. Okay, here's Olivia's and here's yours. Thank you, girls. Okay. Finally, in conclusion, last, and to conclude. Can you think of any other ones that you could use to start your final paragraph? To end? Okay, go ahead and pick one of these. I don't care which one you pick, just pick one. And you're putting it right here on your transition row, right here. For my example, I picked to conclude. Now, this is going to kind of be the hardest paragraph that you're going to write, and it was the one that I struggled with the most when I was in school and writing any type of paper, because any type of paper, no matter if it's argumentative or if it's informative, you're always going to have a conclusion. And the conclusion is difficult because you feel like you're just constantly repeating yourself, which essentially you are. Okay? So what I did for my last block is I Googled a bunch of different politically correct ways to say Native American. And so we came up with a few that we liked. The first one is American Indian. And again, you don't have to write this down. I'm just writing it on here just for the sake of the video. The other one is indigenous people, which I know kind of sounds a little, it sounds a little weird, but indigenous is not, it just means native. So it's not bad at all. And then the other one is called Amerindian. Just like that. It's kind of like America with Indian on it. Jace, do you have another one?
I have two.
Okay.
Indiana Jones and Redskins.
Okay. You know, I'm real close to saying you should just leave. Okay, so when you are doing your conclusion, you need to have out on your desk as well the introduction, because essentially everything that you write is going to come specifically from your introduction. You need to make sure that you are not saying it exactly the way you said it in your introduction. So after you put to conclude, you are going to put your paraphrase thesis. So you'll go back to your introduction, which I don't have right here. Just use Abigail's. You'll go back to your introduction, and you will look at your thesis, which is the bottom one, and you are going to paraphrase it. That means reword. Okay? So you are going to reword your thesis statement. Go ahead and do that now. Yes. No, that's your thesis. That's your original thesis, isn't it? No, it has to be the same reason. It has to be the same reason. It's just reworded. Okay, Zach just asked a good question. He said, can I just change the reason? No, the reason needs to be the same reason that you're using throughout your paper. It cannot be a new reason. Okay? Okay, the next row is for your paraphrased hook. So I want you to go back and look at your hook, and I want you to paraphrase your hook. Now, this is going to be probably the most difficult one that you have to do, because either you did an imagine and you just want to basically reference back to it. So if you did a quote, for example, you would go back to that quote. You could start with something along the lines of as said in the beginning. Andrew Jackson, whatever your quote was. Now you're not quoting the quote. You're not going to put the quote down there again. What you're going to do is you're going to put it in your own words. Now, if you did imagine, I want you to remind your reader about that. Remind your reader about whatever the situation was. So Abigail said, and she's going to hate that I'm using this as an example, but she said, imagine how they felt when they were stuck with over 40 people in a small pen. Okay? So she is going to reference back to that. She's going to talk about the small pen. Okay? Or something along the lines of that. You just want to reference back to it. I know that it's difficult and I know it takes some creativity. Okay? But you need to make sure that you reference back to it somehow. Okay? I don't have a sentence starter for you or anything for this. This is kind of just on your own. Okay? just referencing back to what you said in your hook. So reread your hook. How can you reintroduce that information to your audience? You're putting the quote in your own words. You could say something, for a quote, you could probably start with something like, as stated in the beginning, and then put the quote in your own words. Yeah. Sure, yeah, it can be more than one sentence. Hannah, do you need one? Okay. Okay, so those of you that are ready to start the bridge, here's what you're going to do. The paraphrase bridge, excuse me. You are going to refer back to what the Indian Removal Act is. And here, I'm going to give you a few options of how you can start this. If you are for the Indian Removal Act, you could say something like, this positive act helped the U.S. because da da da. Okay? And you can sub out different words for positive. This beneficial. What's another word for positive? Helpful. Yeah. Okay? You could use any one of those. And then tell me why it was beneficial or why it was helpful, why it was positive. If you are against, what? Yes, and this is for if you're for the Indian Removal Act. If you are against the Indian Removal Act, you could say something like, this horrible act, ... What did it do? You could do horrendous. You could do terrible. You could do negative. Okay? Here's what I told my last block. You want to be like really dramatic in your conclusion. You really want to drive the point home. It's kind of like writing a persuasive essay almost, because you really want to make sure that your reader realizes this was awful. This was terrible. This was horrendous. This did so many bad things for these people. Or you want to be like, this is fantastic. This is great. This is a helpful thing. Blah, 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 blah. Okay? You want to be dramatic, which I know y'all are good at. I hear you in the hallway. Y'all are real dramatic. Okay? Especially these two right here. Just kidding. Okay? So you want to make sure to be pretty dramatic with it. Okay? Really drive that point across. And you're going to get even more dramatic in your counterclaim and rebuttal, but you want to introduce a little drama. Okay? Introduce a little bit of some real deep-rooted issue. Okay? Uh-huh.
That whole time, it was in her binder.
Oh, good.
And she was like freaking out. She was telling me, if you stole it, you have to give it back. And I was like,
Yes, Brayden. Okay. Yeah.
Would it make sense if I replaced like March with where they were close to March?
Uh-huh.
Would it make sense if I replaced that for like order or boredom? Because that's what's in here. But I don't know if that makes sense.
Maybe you could just say wall. Yes, real quick.
This dissatisfaction.
Ooh, inadequate. That's a good one. Is it ETE or ATE? Inadequate? Inhumane. I like that. I like that. Inadequate. I think it's ETE. Uh-huh. Oh, it's AT. What do you mean? Do you have a phone? You watch it on your phone? It's not real long. It's not real long. Or you could do it today during advisory. Yes. Hello. Hi. Uh-huh. Okay.
Okay, no, you're not.
Wait. 1, 2, 3. I think the 2 periods count as 1. Like, it's each one counts as 1. 2, 4, 5, 6, 8, 9, 10. Yeah, no. No, I think the 2 periods count as 2. Like, I think those count as 2. I think. Yeah. All right. Bye. Okay, let's move on to counterclaim and rebuttal. This is where you're going to get real dramatic, okay? You are going to, and I hate to say this, but you're going to kind of belittle the other side, okay? So you're going to start your counterclaim with some think. And I want you to get real dramatic with it. I want you to say something along the lines of, some think that the Native Americans should have been thrown out of their homes that they've had for 100 years. Okay? I want you to be dramatic. Some think that we should coddle the Native Americans and let them live there forever. I want you to be dramatic. Okay? I know, it does, but we're trying to really make the other side feel inferior.
That's what I did in my regular counterclaim. I said that some people think that Native Americans should have been harshly moved.
Okay? Do it again.
But
Figure out another way of saying it.
I still got
And for right now, I just want you to say that part. I just want you to do that part. We're going to add our but statement in just a minute, but we're not going to do that yet. Somebody last block said, do I have to use but? I was like, no, I just think but's funny. So you could do however, even though, although, whatever. You could do whatever, but I think but is funnier. Calling it a but statement, it makes me giggle on the inside, so I just call it that. Yeah. They just get to experience what life in my classroom is like.
Wait, do you like the principal's pathetic?
I don't know.
You know, because they might think you like buttons.
They might think I think but is funny, and I think it is. So, I mean, I'm just being real. Calling it a but statement is funny. All of you were giggling just a second ago, so don't even tell me that you don't think it's funny and we're not all immature, okay?
What's your mental age?
-8.
What?
Like 8.
I took mine, it was 57.
I don't believe that.
I got the screenshot.
Work. Did you already write it down? You ready for your but statement? What? Okay. Guys, I need you focusing on writing your counterclaim. Your dramatic counterclaim.
No, you can't steal hers.
Oh, it was a good one.
You can't use the exact same.
Hey, if you heard it and you wrote it down, you use it. But I am not going to repeat it.
What's the other word for native?
Indigenous. I don't remember what I did with that.
Like the Native Americans were highways to the land.
Indigenous, yeah. I don't know what I did with the paper.
I don't know.
That I had all of that on. Oh, it's right here. What? She should have been listening. Why don't you tell her how to do it, Julian? It doesn't look like you have your paraphrase bridge either. Remember, the paraphrase bridge is using one of these.
Yeah, I know. I have my beginning.
Tell me why it was horrible. Tell me why it was helpful. Okay? Okay, I'm moving on to my but statement. Okay, for your but statement, you are going to do something, then your dramatic counterclaim, and then comma, but. Then you put in your rebuttal. Remember that your rebuttal is in your body paragraph 2, or it is on your big outline. Okay? You're putting in your rebuttal. Okay? What? I don't think so. Because you've paraphrased all of this, you don't really have to paraphrase the rebuttal. It'll mesh in nicely, I think.
Is drag 2 G's or 1 G?
Jag?
Drag.
1 G. Oh, dragged, 2 G's. I don't know who said that, but yes. I'm not going to let my mind wander and be distracted by you.
Wait, what was your friend name?
No. And we're just going to leave it, there. Okay, I'm ready to move on to call to action, are you? Okay, then stop talking and get to work. You guys are way distracted today. We're almost done writing this paper. Come on, we can do it.
She said no, we don't, because we're paraphrasing our counterclaim on it, or their counterclaim. So it will mesh in nicely. That's exactly the word.
Okay, stop.
What word? Betterment. Betterment. Benefit. Something like that. Say again? The 4,000 Cherokees. About 4,000 Cherokee Indians. But that was more so on the Trail of Tears, so I would make sure that you reference the Trail of Tears. And you can put a citation after that of PBS. Okay, I'm moving on to call to action since you're again getting off task and you are talking. So I'm moving on. Okay, for your call to action, and remember this is on the back of your paper, for your call to action, you are going to tell your audience what you want them to do with the information. Tell them to write a letter. You can make a presentation. You can have them petition for a monument. You can have them respect others, okay? Something like that. But you cannot use you and you cannot use your. Okay, so instead of saying like, write a letter to your senator, or you should write a letter to your senator. No, write a letter to the senator of Missouri outlining why a monument to the Cherokee Indians would be beneficial. I don't know, something like that. Okay?
For all who is reading this, respect.
No. Just respect. Okay? Don't put too much into it because then it starts to sound like you're just adding words to add words. You want to make sure it's an implied you. Okay? So, like I said, write a letter because you're just telling whoever's reading it to write a letter. Okay? Or you could say talk to a friend of Native American descent about their family history. Okay? Something like that. Okay? So you need to write that down for your call to action. Figure out what you want your person to do with this information. Okay, I want you to breathe in really deep. Exhale. Your paper's written.
Well, not completely.
We have to like type it as like a final copy.
I'm going to talk about that at the end.
No, we write it.
For those of you that are done, your paper's written. Now, here's what I want you to do. If you're still writing, continue to write. If you are not still writing, I want you to put all of your papers together in in the chronological order. So introduction, body 1, body 2, conclusion. Put them all in order. And then put your big outline at the back of that pile. Your big outline, the one that looks like this. Sorry. Yes.
Alright, I gotta finish my paraphrase book.
Yeah.
Just Wyatt.
Endure.
Just Wyatt.
What, Noah?
How did you say our paraphrase took?
What?
I didn't finish my paraphrase book, and how did you say?
Wow, you were really chatty for someone that didn't finish their paraphrase hook. Go back to your paraphrased hook, or go back to your regular hook, read it, and make sure that your reader understands it. Okay? You're just referencing back to it.
Miss Wyatt, is it dramatic?
And I'm pretty sure it's D-Y-S-T-E-R-I. Dysteria.
Miss Wyatt, what's the author and what is the text names?
Hello.
This one?
Yeah.
Okay, so we're going to go ahead and get started on our rough draft. So you need, we're going to start with 3 pieces, but I want you to get 3 pieces of notebook paper. And First Block so graciously donated a lot to me, so if you need some, there's some back there.
I have recently been out of paper, but I have in my office. Can I just grab some? Is this in the library?
Yeah, there's 2 other copies. We're going to go to the library tomorrow, or I can write you it has to go down today. You have girl on the train. It's adult though, Julianne. Do you have adult permissions? You also need a highlighter bundle.
One, two, three, 4.
Hey Dominic, can you get me one?
That's what's in the video.
Dominic, at this point,
That's your counterclaim though. You should have your counterclaim written on your big outline. It's in the margins. We wrote it out in the margins. Yeah, it was the one that we wrote right out here. Or actually it was down here. That was the counterclaim. What other people think? Really? Did you include that in your paper? No. Oh. Oh wow, so she's like really Native American, just different tribes. That's cool. That's neat. Can I have 2 pieces of your paper? Or just one piece? Okay, I'm going to show you how we're going to set up the rough draft. Everybody will be doing a rough draft paper. And everybody will be physically writing it because if you notice, I have no computers. Nothing. Okay? So, everybody's going to have to do a rough draft, and then I'll talk to you about your final copy at the end of the hour. So, but when we are doing our rough draft, we want to make sure that we give people that are peer editing, we want to make sure that we give them enough room to write. So we are going to only write on every other line. Now, that gets really difficult because sometimes we forget because it's natural to just write on every line. So it's kind of hard to do every other line. So in order to combat that, what we're going to do is we're going to highlight every other line. And we're only going to write on the lines that are highlighted. Okay?
Can we do opposite? Because when we write it...
That's fine. It doesn't matter. But I only want you to do it in yellow because yellow's the one that you can write over and it'll be okay. I don't want you to do it in any other color. Okay? Now, you can decide if you would like to write on the highlighted lines or if you don't want to. How many of you think, oh yeah, I can write on the highlighted lines, that's no problem? Okay, so if that's you, I want you to start at the top and highlight the top one. Yes, Landon? That's fine, but if you don't, then you're going to have to go back and erase everything. Okay? And then you're just going to highlight every other one.
Do I have to highlight the whole line or can I just have part of the line?
I don't care. Now, if you don't want to write on the highlights, you want to avoid the highlights, then you would just start on the second line and do every other. Okay? So it's up to you. And I had somebody first block that just highlighted every other blue line, and she just wrote on the blue line. That's fine. That's fine. So, like, for example, I would do like this.
That's tricky. That's tricky.
Yeah. But I only want you to do it on one side. Don't do it on the back side because we're not going to write on the back side. Okay? So, I'm going to again use Abigail. So, I'm going to go ahead and get started writing my rough draft. So, I'm going to start with my introduction. This whole page is one paragraph. Okay? So, I'm going to show you as an example. So, I'm going to say, I'm going to indent, of course. Imagine how they felt when they were stuck with over 40 people in a small pen. And then I'm just going to start my next one. The Indian Removal Act was in 1830 when Andrew Jackson, and then I'm not going to write the rest, but just like that. You will not indent a new paragraph until you get to body number 1. This is all one paragraph. This is all one paragraph. This is all one paragraph. And this is all one paragraph. Okay? I have her fourth block, so she hasn't had it yet. Okay? So, and somebody asked me, well, do I have to skip a line when I start a new paragraph? No. So, like, let's say that I finished my introduction. I can just start my body number 1 just like this. Because the indentation tells my reader that it's a new paragraph. Yes, Noah?
I think my hook might be too long.
Well, you used your, so you can't use your, but it's not too long.
But it's.
Can't use your. Can't use your. And you're going to do this for your whole paper.